Welcome back to Affiliated Listeners. It is I, Thomas McMahon. We've kicked Kyle K out of the studio for a while now. He just left us for Copy Accelerator this week. And I'm joined by the only other guy I think in the industry who's not in Dubai for Affiliate World at the moment, Shmuel Herschberg of Shine Media. So if you know of him, you're going to love this podcast. If you don't, you're going to love it even more because he is a genius when it comes to marketing, email, Google, conversions, all this sexy stuff we're going to dive into. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thanks for staying home from Dubai. You know, it's
I stayed home specifically for this. I was like, sorry, I can't go. I got a podcast scheduled. I got to be in town for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a big trip. It's closer for you, right? You're out in the Mediterranean area, you said?
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour flight. So a lot of people also from Israel are out there now. And
Nice.
yeah, social medias, just keeps dinging. Everyone's popping up with their pictures from Dubai and stuff. So a little FOMO, but one day I'll get out
a little
there.
bit. It's getting easier. With kids and stuff, you got to stay home sometimes and kind of take care of the fam. Because I was surprised to see you out in Vegas recently.
Yeah, so that was
a
a big trip for me. Yeah, that was around halfway around the world almost.
Yeah, for Affiliate Summit. No, it was great to
15 hours
catch
of
up there a
flying.
bit.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, and you guys put on such an awesome show like this. So yeah, big
Oh,
plug for
yeah, that Raiders Stadium was
that
cool, man.
that was really good. Yeah. More than just good. That was like awesome. Yeah, that was like a pretty awesome highlight. Yeah, for
Are you going to
me,
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, are you going to any other shows this year?
no, for me, like at the ClickBank show at the stadium was, got into the locker room and stuff on the tour and stuff. And I remember I was sitting down and someone took a picture of me on in someone's locker. I forgot which player it was. And then like right afterwards, like the tour guide's like, please don't sit down in anyone's locker. And I remember I like went up to the tour guide. I'm like, I'm sorry, I sat down already before you made that announcement. She was like, "Oh no, don't worry." So
It's okay.
so
I like that the players rope the ones that like actually leave the gear there. They actually had those roped off so you couldn't mess with their stuff and everything.
yes,
It was cool
yeah,
to be in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was really cool. Yeah, yeah. So kudos to you guys for pulling that off. That was really epic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'll take all the credit for that. No, it was our awesome events team with Brett and Yvette over there. So they really,
Yeah,
I know they're leveling up a little too much. We're gonna have to kind of set expectations a little lower for people for future ones. No, it was good.
yeah. I mean,
But
the bar is pretty high.
it
Yeah.
is, it is. Yeah. Are you going to be coming to like Platinum Summit or coming out for any of the other big shows in the States or anywhere else?
The truth is, I don't have anything on the
Hmm.
calendar just yet, but we'll see how the year goes by, and we'll make plans, on a need for basis. So I'm always
No, I
game.
like it. Yeah, no, it's always, I'm
Yeah,
trying to travel a little more tactically myself too. So it's always good to kind of see everybody, but take care of the fam at home too and everything like that. But I was curious, like you've been in the space for how long now in the kind of the direct response world, if you will?
I'm coming up on 10 years now, so I
Okay.
kind of got into it. I was in the online marketing space for a little bit longer than that, but in terms of the direct to consumer response type of marketing, that's been like 10 years now. I started way back with Kindago. For those who don't know,
Hmm.
they're also one of the big premium agencies here in Israel. A little history back then they didn't go by Kindago. They just went by B2C Media Solutions. So yeah, so I was working for them, doing their email marketing. Yeah, so that's really where when I got into the ClickBank ecosystem, and it's really been a marvelous journey ever since.
Oh, awesome. Because yeah, you went to, was it Trim Down Club after that?
Yeah, so that was B2Cs. That was kind of like their in-house brand, and
Oh,
so
that's right. Gosh,
yeah,
yeah. I always crossed the two. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So yes, yeah. So they're pretty much intertwined, Trim Down Club and
mhm.
Kindex. And yeah, so that was my first job with them. Running their email
Nice.
marketing department and doing biz dev, reaching out to affiliates, finding new affiliates for them, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Had you had email experience before that? Was it kind of you just dove in with them to figure out the email piece?
No, I actually had email marketing experience before
Hmm.
that. So my previous job, yeah, before that, I was, way back. If we go to the origin story of Shmuel Herschberg, so born and bred in New York, and then I moved over to Israel, when as an adult, and then I studied journalism. So with my communications background, that's how I kind of got into the field of marketing and communications. And then, I also a little tech savvy. So that's how I kind of, the company was like, they were looking for someone to take their email marketing up a notch. And they kind of turned to me and said like, hey, you got the skills, to make sure that, an email is going to go out and everything's going to be, grammatically correct, and communications can be, we're going to get the right message over. You think you could also do the tech part of it? And yeah, I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. And I like that. And so that's how I got to B2C media solutions from there. So I already had some experience in the email marketing
Nice.
space.
You've been doing email almost your whole career then, and for quite a while.
Yeah. So email, yeah, over 10 years doing emails. I worked with like numerous systems, like way back when, like it was called Exact Target, and then Salesforce bought them, so the Salesforce Marketing Cloud.
Okay.
Uh, you know, they're like one of the big ones. You have companies like Mailchimp and ActiveCampaign, and a bunch of systems that I've had the pleasure to have exposure to. So it's really nice, to have a whole understanding of how these systems work. Because then I was just on a call with a client coming up, and they're actually working with a system that I never heard of, but they kind of just gave me the walkthrough of that system, and it's just different flavor of ice cream.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's like, I was like, when you're working with a new client or something and diving into their email piece of it, what are some of like the first things you're looking at with their email when you're looking at trying to help them grow?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll always do is I'll always sign up, and I always tell like the client, here's actually a cool hack for Gmail. Everyone has like a Gmail address. So like, you have your email address. So you might be Thomas McMahon at Gmail, right? If he is, everyone starts spamming him right now.
I know I was
Uh,
going to say, unfortunately not, but yes, someone's sitting on that one, but it's close. Yeah.
someone is sitting on that one.
Yeah.
But if you take your username and then add a plus, and then you could add whatever you want at gmail.com. So Gmail, uses that as one email. So you don't need to keep signing up for multiple email addresses to get on someone's list. You could just use that, and then you pretty much see their funnel in real time. So obviously, I'm not you can't hack into their system, but as an email marketing hack, you could hack. You could get a flavor for what people are doing by doing this. And I like to use like the dates. So just going from largest to smallest, 20. So today would be, let's say, like 2023 0228. And then say dot the name of the system that you're testing, the funnel that you're testing, and then sign up. And then you'll kind of you'll be able to easily find it in your Gmail. So that's the first thing that I do is really kind of get what's the customer experience? What's people that are signing up? People that are signing up as free members? People that are signing up as paid members? What are they getting? That's what I like to do always, just from a user perspective. And then from a marketing perspective, I always like to kind of dive in and just get an understanding for the big numbers. Now, obviously, when it comes to email and all, any direct response, it's always that bottom line. People are always looking for, the PPM or the RPM, revenue per mill or profit per mill, whatever you want to call it in the email marketing space, right? Or, the ROAS in your advertising. So people are always looking for that bottom line number. Is it profitable or not? But obviously, there are all these touch points along the way. So you want to just get a good understanding of their metrics, and then improve on it. I've written extensively on this. It's kind of like running a marathon. So for anyone that's run a marathon out there, I have not, full disclaimer, I have not run a marathon.
For you,
Thomas,
might be biking up a new mountain, right? You're
so
gonna
we
take
were
a while. Yeah,
talking, before the show about like, the
yeah.
activities I do like, mountain biking and stuff like that. But yeah, so so let's scrap that marathon analogy and talk about Shmuel Herschberg riding his mountain bike.
There you go. Yeah.
So I would never compare myself to like, a world class athlete when it comes to biking because I'm not. So it's always also important for like when you're looking at marketing stats and stuff like that, like whatever people are writing online and stuff, that's great, and I'm really happy for everyone that's getting, amazing results out there and stuff. But uh, I wouldn't use that as my yardstick. I would use
Oh,
what
you're kind of talking about when
Shmuel
you look at like
Hershberg.
what's a good at open
Yeah,
rate or good
yeah,
deliverability rate or good
yeah,
click through rate and all that
exactly.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And especially when it comes to open rates with Apple's privacy, where you don't really get a full handle on it. But even before then, it was always like, you want a good open rate, you want to get like a 70% open rate, just send it to your 50 most active people, and you'll get a 70% open rate. So a lot of this stuff is not like, it's not, I wouldn't advise it. You would have to, you have to be smart about it. So one of the ways you get smart about it is you build yourself a benchmark about what your company is actually doing, and then you can improve on that. And that's your baseline. So that's, kind of the two things I like to do. Like, when I would start, working with a company and stuff like that. And
No, it makes a lot of sense because yeah, it's like the like going to road biking now. I guess what was that British team when the 1% better every day mantra they followed, right? And then led them to winning I think they're like the worst performing team in Olympic history, and they went to winning a gold medal in 8 years, or
yeah,
less than that potentially, right? And they just yeah, what's the baseline and how do we improve a little bit every day on that? And it gets to massive results fairly quickly. So it's
exactly. You,
yeah.
you also see these like, these I don't know if they're called memes or whatever, or cartoons of people doing, getting into a rhythm and stuff. And at first, you see the person trying to push like a square object up a hill and stuff, and it's like you can't do it. And then all of a sudden the corners get like a little bit, you know, smoothed out. And then, if you keep doing it, like, a year later, the guy's just like pushing a ball, and it's just very simple. So that's, yeah,
Getting out of Sisyphus, right? You're just trying to make it work with. I like that you mentioned the user perspective piece because I find a lot of times like the clients we work with, right? It's they can almost be too close to their funnel and they're looking at very specific pieces of it where it's a headline here or it's an upsell here, and they forget to look at the whole picture sometimes, like and that customer flow that you're talking about. And they go, why is X happening here? And if you take a pause and step back as a consumer and look at it as someone fresh going through it, you'll sometimes find pretty quickly it's like, well, this is really odd here. Like this doesn't make sense there. Like this is really disjointed. Like I'm surprised I'm on this page now. Like I can see why they're clicking off or refunding, right? Or something bad's happening in XYZ step. Or like you said in the email journey.
for sure.
Like there's I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff you come across when you sign up. It's like, do you realize you're sending this on day two? Like, no. Right.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
That's
I
been
think like a new person in a company could always give you the most valuable information, and after that, it's got to be your customer success team. The call center, the people that are actually answering the customer emails. They're the go-to people. They're probably the most important people in the whole company.
yeah.
They'll tell you. They'll tell you. What are the pain points? What are people complaining about? What do people want more of?
Yeah, where those big, yeah, exactly. The pro side too, right? What's going really well. On the email side, when when you've signed up for their list and kind of getting an idea of their baselines and things like that, is there common mistakes that you see brands making now as they're trying to monetize or as they're trying to cultivate that email list?
Common mistakes. Uh, yeah, so probably just like not siloing different ISPs. So,
Oh, okay. Go into that a
just
bit. Yeah.
yeah, just people. Let's say, let's just throw out a benchmark number, 20%. 20% open rate, right?
Hmm.
Um, so you have 20% open rate, and you think like, oh wow, everything's fine, right? The only thing is that, we could talk about, we could change it to click rates and stuff if people want to say, well, that's 20, not really 20%, All right, so let's talk about click rates, whatever your click rates are, whatever the number that you're analyzing is. You want to be doing it by ISPs, because at the end of the day, you could be having an issue, with, let's say, Hotmail, and yes, people still use Hotmail or Yahoo, and you might not realize, even though they're a significant part of your list, because let's say probably like, Gmail or iCloud, right? They're the big, they're your biggest users, right? So it's probably Gmail. Gmail could probably be anywhere up to 60% of someone's
Wow,
list.
gosh.
Yeah, so with all that, kind of power that Gmail might have and the weight that they're putting on your system, right? You might not realize what 10%, of, let's say, your list that's going to Hotmail is getting. So you could be having a huge issue with Hotmail. Like, all those emails could be going to spam. And if you're not siloing, if you're not looking at each, you know, uh, major ISP that's on your list, and we could talk about like going into it and actually analyzing your list. Um, it's you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff.
Can do all the major like ESPs, the email service providers, do all of those let you do that and go down into there, like on the ISP level?
Yeah, so here's the thing with ISPs. I think, like, I'm sorry, with ESPs, email service providers and
Hmm.
stuff. Like, I think the sales people for these companies, they will sell you the world, and they'll tell you that, oh, we have the best reporting and everything like that. But when it comes down to the nuts and the bolts of it, everyone works differently. No one's the same, and your use case may never have, no one may have even thought of that use case at this ESP. So all of a sudden, you're expecting them to have a report that's going to make sense for you. So it's very important to be able to download the data. I think if anyone's looking at a new email service provider, um, I think that's probably the most important report that you can get, is just having the ability to download data, download your sends, download, obviously you got to be able to look at your contacts and stuff like that. And then you got to use Excel. You got to use Excel or Google Sheets or whatever spreadsheet software you're using, and really, really do the heavy lifting there with like pivot tables and obviously charts and stuff if you're doing
Oh man, you're
reporting
saying
on
a lot
that.
of words that scare me, man.
Yeah, yeah. So that's that's how I would do it. Like, for one of my clients, I did this, and I didn't even really go into the email system to see kind of like what the breakdown was. I kind of had like an idea. They did have it in their reports, but the actual way that I actually did this for them was I actually kind of just downloaded like a big broadcast sent to actually see who got the email, because a lot of systems have moved over to kind of like the contact. You pay per contact, pay per active
Hmm.
contact that you have on your list. So a lot of people in their email marketing system, they'll see like a bloated number of total contacts. Now it doesn't mean that they're all eligible to be get your emails, because a lot of them may have unsubscribed, some of them could have bounced. So what you want to make sure is to be doing is to be looking at the actual people that are getting your emails, the people that you're delivering emails to. So if you go into, like, let's say, the biggest broadcast send that you most recently sent, and then you just export that list of people that got the email, you could parse
Gotcha.
out the ISP from there, and then throw that into a pivot table, and then from there you'll see. So obviously you'll see Gmail, and you'll see Yahoo, and if you're working with, let's say, outside the US, if you have a big list in the UK, if you have a big list in Australia and stuff, you might see some ISPs that you never heard of, but they could be very valuable to you. Obviously, don't go down to the vanity ISPs, people that have, let's
Oh
say,
yeah.
like, like Shine Media, like that. You don't even need to focus on that. But if anything's like, I don't know, I don't know, I wouldn't say, let's say, 5%. if you don't want to make something. It's kind of like a gut call. Anywhere between
It's
five
probably
to
the
ten
Pareto
percent.
principle, right? You're going to get the biggest lifts by finding the bigger chunks of your list and then
Yeah,
improving those
yeah.
versus the 3%. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you
Uh,
have, let's say, five segments, let's say you have your Gmail and you have, let's say, you lump all the small ones together, and then you take the three, the two, three, and four, your biggest ISPs that you have, and then you make a list, and then you send directly you send an email, the same email, you send it to those lists. Then you can kind of get like a baseline of where you stand with them, and the difference can be night and day. So. I'll be honest with you, like lots of times I see subject lines being split tested, and I don't know, maybe I just write kick-ass subject lines and they all do well. But I
I'm
don't,
sure
I
you
don't,
do, but yeah.
but I don't see like night and day type of changes from a subject line. I'll see a little lift, and obviously that's good. But the night and day stuff happens like when you send, let's say, to this ISP versus that ISP, and there you could sometimes see it.
And so I'm a little lost because, okay, if you're doing this and you're identifying that, okay, I've got X% of my list on Gmail and Y% on Yahoo and all that, and you see that one is underperforming or not getting delivered to, like, what's the fix there? Are you going in then and just trying to figure out why things are going to spam for Hotmail, for example? Are you just trying to pull back the nuts and bolts and then figure out what the root problem is there? Like,
Yeah, so you want to also, like, another thing that I've seen. So people have written about like the who the from name is. Like, people see the subject line, people see the from name in the email. Another big component of the email and how it's going to inbox, or if it's going to inbox, if it's going to go to spam or not, is the actual from email address. So a lot of times people would send, let's say, from support at so and so, right? So that's not the only sender email that you can send from. You could send from, info at so and so. You could send from your customer rep at so and so. And those also make a dramatic difference from what I've seen. So that's what I would recommend. Kind of, let's say, okay, so you see you have a problem with, I don't know, you have a problem with Yahoo, right? Okay, so send your an email to Yahoo, split test it with a few different variations. You could try split testing subject lines, go for it. You could try split testing the from name as well, go for it. And that could also show some good improvements. But then I think the from email address, the sender from email address is also so important. Obviously, you can't just send from some fictitious emails. You got to go through the SPF and the DKIM and all that to make sure it's a legitimate sender. But if you're using your domain or your subdomain, you make a new subdomain to send from. There are ways to do this that you can kind of get some traction and see better results.
I love this. So if I'm going to ask you a question you'll probably hate because they're hard to answer, but I'm going to do it anyway. Um, if someone's got a robust enough list and they take efforts to do this and they haven't maintained it before, they've just been built a list, they've been sending, they've been split testing subject lines, focusing on the marketing piece, not so much the tech and the back end piece of it. What kind of results can they typically expect to get from their current list after they start optimizing some of this stuff?
Oh, it's totally what it's got to be like 50%, right? No. Um, um, Hold on, let me just put my thumb out. What does the wind say? Um, yeah, yeah, no, it's a good question. I'll answer it like this. The best thing that that can possibly happen by doing a test like this is that you come back and everything is just baseline and everything's good, right? And that's
Hmm.
like, all right, just continue, go on. You don't have any issues, right? Go on.
Sure, I guess I get my car checked up even when it's not broken, right?
Yeah,
Because I want to make sure it
exactly.
doesn't get broken.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
analogy, right? You
Hmm.
got to get your, you got to go, you got to do all these checks periodically. Of course, I'm not advocating to do this every day. This is a periodic type of checkup that you want to be doing.
Is
Uh,
there like a list size you find that's like once you get to X list size, whether it's leads or customers, that you should probably definitely do this if you haven't already?
well, email is definitely a volume game, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to make conversions and stuff in our space. It's a volume game. Um, at least if it's going to be statistically relevant, right? So yeah, I would say, probably like when you have a list, let's say like probably 25 to 50,000, you should already start to be
Okay.
thinking about this.
Yeah, and kind
Mhm.
of growing up a little bit in your operations for how you're managing that list, and yeah, because it makes. I
Yeah.
mean, it's so hard to acquire a customer, right? And once you have even a lead, and once you have them, so many people focus on the next customer versus where you're really optimizing experience for your current customers. If they're not even getting your emails, then of course you're not optimizing that, and you could be improving that. So I think that's a big. You can raise your floor quite a bit, right? And
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
raising the floor in a business is never quite as sexy as raising the ceiling, but it makes
Hmm.
your down days a lot higher, right? And if you can do that, you're a lot more stable, and your year over year revenue grows quite a bit as you keep improving that baseline.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the more eyeballs that see your emails, the better you'll do. And yes, it's about getting those people in and make sure the emails are being delivered. So it's an eye-opening thing, I have to say, like, because like, you could be doing this, and like I said earlier, you might have a problem, but you wouldn't even sense it because certain parts of your list could be inboxing and doing really, really well. Um, you know,
Yeah, no, I imagine Gmail, like if things are going well with Gmail, it might hide some faults, right?
yeah,
Might hide a lot
yeah,
of sins, as my dad would
yeah,
say. So,
yeah.
yeah,
I wrote an article about it. I forgot the exact numbers and stuff, but I kind of like have um, just a table just with basic numbers, and which kind of just maps this out in very, very simple terms that's, could be digested very simple. So, maybe if somebody wants to look at that, we could put that in the show notes or something like that.
yeah. And if you can shoot me
And
the link, we'll get it in the show notes. Is it on your site?
yeah, it's on my site. It's on my site.
Let's
Yeah.
look at good time to plug that, because let's talk a little bit, because it sounds like you're doing consulting now. You're kind of doing some marketing consulting. Where can people find you? And we'll go into some other, I've got some other questions for you if you've got time, but I'd love for people to figure out where they can find more about you, and if they want you to take a look at their email and figure out what's going wrong there, where they can get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at Shine Media, SHYN media.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Shmuel H. Facebook, I'm on Facebook as well. I try to be active in the director response marketing group so I don't get that axe. Uh,
Did you survive this last round? D went pretty
I,
hard on it.
I know, I know. Yeah, I saw some people that got reinstated, and I was like, really? That person got
we
the
went from
axe?
yeah, we went from 806 members to like 320. So she took an axe to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but nice. So okay,
So
so what's
I
the okay?
survived.
So Shine Media, SHYN media.com. What's the story around Shine there with that spelling? There's got to be something there.
Yeah, so we always talk about every call, every meeting I get on. People are like, "Oh, okay, so how do you pronounce your name? Is it Shmuel? Is it Shmuel? Is it, all these
Yeah.
variations and stuff." So of course, I was thinking, like, all right, if I'm gonna go out and be a consultant, I don't want to have that's gonna be like, the definition. Like, all right, this is the guy I can't pronounce his name and stuff like that. So I've got 4 kids, and just one day I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, like, if I take the acronyms of their first names and stuff, I come up with Shine. Yeah, it's spelled a little bit differently, SHYN. But that's the origin of that story. So
Oh,
yeah,
awesome. I love that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it keeps
That's
me
so
focused
wholesome. Yeah.
every time I see it. Every time I see my website, got my eye on the prize.
Oh, that's great.
So.
And then yeah, and if it becomes an app, it's very trendy. You get to spell Shine a different way, and you get a whole thing there. So it's very yeah, it's very 2020.
Yeah, yeah. There's that clothing company. I don't. They're very popular in Israel. They spell. I think it's pronounced Shein or something like that. And it's like very. I don't know if they're in the U.S., but they're very popular in Israel. And they probably, I'm gonna bow to them, and they probably started before I started, but like I
You'll
didn't
get a
hear
cease and
about
desist
it.
soon from them, but no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't hear about it. And all right. we
Oh,
could
nice.
coexist, right? You know.
Yeah, I think there's enough room. Yeah, you just start doing their marketing for them, and then yeah, you'll just be a sister company to them.
Yep, yep. And you'll get an affiliate cut for that, right?
There you go.
Yeah,
I'll make it happen. Yeah.
yep, you made it happen. You heard it
So
here.
that's a biz dev in me. I can't stop. Yeah.
Yep.
The so email is obviously a big part of your background, but I imagine that's not all you do. If you're coming on to work with somebody, what's the other main avenue that you're working with people?
Yeah, so before I went, the consultant route, I was working for a company. I was the head of the marketing department, so I had exposure to a lot of every aspect of the marketing, including media spend and media buying. So I got, I got into that world, and then since then I've also working with some clients, doing my own affiliate stuff as well in that space, focusing primarily on Google Ads, everything related to Google search, YouTube, Performance Max, and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's also an interesting, an interesting, an interesting play because it's kind of like the prequel to the email because emails is when they signed up and stuff, and this is all about the acquisition. So it's
Hmm.
yeah, so it's also very exciting stuff there.
On the I find right in my space with ClickBank, right, like a lot of the clients rely almost sometimes 100% on affiliates to drive that traffic, and they're not touching their own spend on any of those platforms you're mentioning. Maybe some are starting to, that sort of thing. I'm curious if you're looking at a brand like that and a listener like that right now who wants to dive into controlling more of their own media. What would be some advice you have for them?
I think that you need to make sure that you have some good upsell funnels and stuff because the cost of traffic, like you said before, it's expensive to acquire a customer. So if you're going to acquire a customer and not have a good upsell funnel where you can increase your AOV, your average order value, it's going to be a losing battle because your day one revenue, you're not even going to break even. And I
Right.
think I think typically that's the goal is to turn a profit on day one. You don't want to be in the hole. So that's really the really keys to make sure that you have the average order value, you have the upsell funnel that's in place, and also people are buying it. Like you send traffic. Affiliates have sent traffic from email and stuff. How did that do? Is the funnel converting? Because that's super important, is to make sure that you're going to open up your wallet, right, and you're going to start spending money on it. You want to make sure that the funnel actually converts. So that's really key. And then I would also say is like it also depends like kind of like what your business model is. If you have your own company and you're, let's say, selling supplements or something like that, and you could have a long runway for lifetime value, so you could have a little bit more flexibility. But if you're going to be kind of like, let's say, like a lifestyle brand, or subscription where it might run out for a little bit, you really have to be on top of what those numbers are going to be, and to understand that, so you can understand like what your spend needs to be. And again, like going back to that analogy of running or mountain biking, wherever it is, you're really in this competition by yourself. um, so
Mm.
so some people might say like, oh, I'm willing to spend X on a customer, and then other people might be like, well, I'll spend 2X, because my average order value is so much higher than yours. So you got to know your numbers.
Yep. No, that's huge there because, yeah, things can get sideways without even realizing it in a hurry if you're outspending what is coming in or overshooting what your run rate really is for your cash flow. On the with all the shakeups that have happened in the last 2 years, right? Especially when we look at like Facebook and how much harder it's been to spend there for some brands and kind of stay profitable there with the tracking impacts and stuff. What have you seen on the paid side that you're excited about kind of today? Like we're like, oh man, people should really keep an eye on this or kind of really rethink about looking at X.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll be honest. Like in terms of the paid side, terms of Facebook, I have much less experience. Obviously, I hear
Hmm.
things on the side, but I'm not going to come out and say like, oh,
Oh, sure. I mean,
I'm
kind of off
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah,
Like, what
yeah,
else is happening that you're like, oh man, you should take another look at this. There's a party over here.
yeah. So there's definitely a
Yeah.
party over here. So I think YouTube advertising is really exciting for me. I think PMax Performance Max on Google is also turning a corner. You know, at first, at first I was kind of like of the opinion that like PMax is just like Google's power grab to put everything like in a black box so you don't see kind of like, and because basically essentially for those that don't know, Performance Max is like you give Google your search terms. I'm sorry, not you don't even give them search terms. You just give them your headlines and descriptions. You throw in some images, you throw in some videos, uh, you toss it all together and say, here you go, Google, take, and Google does whatever it wants with it. And you really don't know, like, okay, fine, you see some conversions and performance facts, but you don't really understand how that is, conversion happened. Was it through a video? Was it through, the GDN, the display network search? Was it a Gmail ad? You don't really know. And as an advertiser, I think that, that irked me a little bit. It could be very frustrating to not know that. But
Just a soupy mix of data that you don't
yeah,
really.
yeah. But then at the bottom, then you have the bottom line stuff. So you kind of see what your overall click through rates are. You see what your overall conversions are, and and I think that's turning a corner and stuff. I think their product, it's evolving as well. And if Google's putting money into it, I think you got to understand that it's going to be around, and it's going to be a big part of their arsenal. So I think it's good to be an early adopter in that game.
For the Performance Max stuff. Yeah.
The Performance Max, exactly.
I've
No,
been aware of it. I haven't gone deep into it yet. It's one of those things I'm like, that looks cool. I don't understand it. Someone will tell me about it eventually. So maybe that's you, but it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
So there are a few ways to do it, like people that have like full e-commerce sites, and I think this might be a little bit less relevant for our ecosystem. You could just have it as a setting like where it takes every link, and it's even doing that, like where you say like, okay,
oh, for
my
every
site,
product page almost
yeah,
like,
my site Shine
mhm.
Media, and then it's gonna be like, okay, great, we're gonna not only are you giving us the best, the the headlines and the descriptions and the images, you're also giving us your site's URLs, and we're going to direct the traffic. So that could be a huge pitfall for someone. So you need to make sure that you go into the settings and actually say, I'm gonna show you which URL to send to. And I think I just read recently that there are making some changes to that, so you could actually choose some more assets. So it doesn't have to be like um, one element is going to
Gotcha.
one page. But in our world, I think that's how people need to be operating. And if someone's listening to this and knows of a different way, reach out to me because I would love to learn more about it as well. But one of the things that I have been doing is putting in UTM codes on these pages, because you'll have, let's say, 20 assets in it, and if you just have them all linked with the same naming convention, you won't even be able to know which ones are getting the traffic. So obviously, within there, the display and the videos and stuff, you don't have a good handle on, right? But let's just zoom out a little bit and say like, okay, if I have 20 different assets which include all of those sections, right? Right? You kind of want to know like what's Google favoring, and obviously Google's favoring it because of their algorithm and stuff like that. And then is it converting? And then you could kind of see, you could break it down. So let's say if we break down, I don't know if we talk about, let's say, different, I don't know, we talk about, let's say, smartphones, we talk about computers, right? We talk about different electronic type of things as different assets, right? And we give them, so asset one, let's say, is your smartphone. Asset two would be, images and videos related to your computer. Asset three will be, your headphones and your, right? So if you give them different UTM trackings and stuff like that, then you'll be able to see in Google Analytics, you'll be able to see it in Google Ads, you'll see it in ClickBank. you could see like how the conversions happened, and that
Gotcha. So
kind
you're
of gives you a
matching the
handle. Yeah. So
okay.
then you might see like, okay, I'm doing really well with, let's say, like smartphones, and so that's, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think I would be so profitable there. I didn't think I would get so much traffic. I didn't think it would resonate with the audience. That's, maybe
And
that
then are you
that should be
just
the next.
then do you feed Performance Max just more assets that it can start layering into its soupy split testing?
Yeah, yeah, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's an excellent question, and yeah, I mean the answer would be, I think, for everything is really yes. Like salespeople, there's the expression ABC, always be closing. You got to always be closing your deals and stuff like that. And I think when it comes to digital marketers and stuff, it's got to be ABT. It's always be testing. There's no test. If it came from your head, right? As a digital marketer, we're smart enough to know, like, okay, this will be probably a good test. We should test this out, right? It should be tested, right? And so that's super important. And feeding Google and whatever advertising platform with more and more creatives and stuff is very important, I think.
Well, thanks for the breakdown there because it's funny. It's very similar when I talk with all the big scaled Facebook buyers, for example. That's essentially what they're trying to do manually. They're trying to feed Facebook when they have the budget for it, a bunch of images, a bunch of headlines, a bunch of creatives, and they let Facebook figure it out. They're basically like, here's the plethora of things I've thought of that might resonate, and here's
Yeah,
10 grand. Go to a super wide audience, and you're going to tell me what works. I'm not going to guess, and then I'll cut out 80% of it and then split test the 20% 8 times over again. And they just keep doing that until they have a winner. So it sounds like you're just letting Google do that, which, man, that's not
yeah,
a stupid company. So they should be able to figure it out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think it was in Vegas last month, like when I forgot who was speaking, but he said something along the lines of target wide, speak
Hmm.
speak narrow,
Yes.
and
Yeah. You let your creative do the segmenting essentially, right? Instead of trying to tell Facebook, I want to talk to this type of person. You go, no, just show it. They know who that person, who's going to resonate with that image because they've got all the AI stuff too, I'm sure. And so their algorithm's going to feed it. And then based on engagement and pauses and clicks, it's going to go, oh, keep showing to more people like that. So you
yeah.
go really wide. It sounds like that's what Google's doing, just essentially for you. It sounds like the thing there, they're rolling out a little more customization
Hmm.
versus just being super big.
Yeah,
What
and,
is
and,
what?
and of
Yeah.
course, you have your general demographics and your geos and stuff. You obviously want to make sure that you're targeting in the right languages and the right countries that you're operating in, the right, you know, here's something that like I told a client recently was like, okay, when it comes to search, like I'm of the opinion, like we search is kind of like a reactive type of a vehicle where you have someone somewhere wherever they are, they type into their browser, tell me how to do this, and how can I fix this problem, so on and so forth, right? And that's kind of reactive, and if someone's actually looking for that, I want to speak to them, right? uh, but then you have, let's say, so hold on one second. Let me just unpack that a little bit more. So you have someone searching for it. So we want to let the audience be really broad, right? If we have a product that we think is for a certain demographic, right? We're not gonna like isolate and exclude people that aren't in that demographic from search, because someone may be searching for something and we just didn't think about it, right? But when it comes to YouTube videos, and when it comes to Performance Max, GDN, stuff which is more proactive, where you're actually saying, okay, I have these assets, I want you to show them to the world. There you do have more ways to fine tune your audience. Obviously, keeping it wide, but um, for example, someone has like a product that's geared for, I don't know, women, right? Uh,
Hmm.
we could be talking about something that it's a problem that only women can have, or it's a problem that only men can have, right? So if actually doing, YouTube ads for that, yeah, so I'll only have it for that specific gender, right? Or a specific age category, right? Um,
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Or if you have a product like how to get your dog to stop barking, it would be right.
do you
No,
hear it?
no, it's all good. Yeah. What kind of dog do you have?
An Australian Shepherd.
Oh,
So
yes, they're insanely smart. Yeah.
yeah, that's the big debate in our family. Is he smart or not? I'm with you on that one. I'm, you know, of the opinion that he's extremely smart, and we're just not smart enough to train him to do all those silly tricks that you see all those great YouTube videos of Australian
Yeah.
Shepherds doing. You know.
Well, they got to be smart to dodge all those cow hooves and everything, man. Yeah, they're cool dogs. Well,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
thanks for
So
breaking
yeah,
down the
so
performance
when
max
he,
piece there. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, sure.
no, because it's. I'm sure people have seen the YouTube ads about people, the different agencies that are running with that, Cosm and everything, who's doing things with their, um, and yeah, it's one of those things like, man, like that looks intriguing, but that makes a lot of sense now. So you're kind of letting the engine run. Yeah, and I like that too, right? You need to understand the different intentions of the different traffic sources, like exactly with a search
Yeah,
versus display, and the kind of what you're doing out there. It almost sounds like testing native at massive, like just very broadly, right? You're almost just testing native in a very broad environment from email to display to wherever else Google has property. It wants to show everything.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think, obviously, we didn't even talk about AI, and I'm a newbie to
Mm,
it like myself, but you just read in the news like everything how that's just exploding, and Google is feeling it, and they're, rapidly rapidly, trying to stay ahead of the curve there as well. So I think we'll see like a lot of good things from Google, in the coming months and stuff.
it makes sense. Yeah, no, it's like I know people like I am very ignorant of Twitter, for example, but I know there's been some agencies being able to get some ridiculous campaigns going with Twitter ads
Is that
because
in the
there's a big what's that?
is that in the direct to
In the
consumer
ecom space, yeah,
in the
yeah,
e-com space? Oh wow.
and also in B2B for lead gen. But that's been because there's been so many people leaving Twitter, and now Twitter's trying to figure out how to make money and stay profitable and all that. And they're going, well, so there's a big gap essentially on the space available for ads and the people still on Twitter. So there's
Hmm.
opportunity to be had. I think, like you just said, there's going to be opportunities like that on Google. We've been seeing
Yeah,
that with the rise of YouTube, like you mentioned, with people leaving Facebook,
yeah,
um, and ad buyers leaving Facebook. They've been moving to Google with to native, with Taboola and Outbrain and things like that. So there's all these different places to kind of play in and kind of figure out to get some traction going.
for sure. Yeah, that's an interesting point you said about Twitter in terms of the e-com space, because I've heard of people in the B2B space, like on the LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
platform and stuff, that they've kind of made like kind of like a seamless transition to advertise on Twitter. I didn't think it would be such a big play in the direct to consumer type of business, but yeah, what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and that's a good point.
Yeah, no, so
Another
it's
thing
just
I
like,
think
oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
another thing I think was also like retail media as well. People are selling not just
Retail media.
Amazon, there are other channels and stuff as well, which I think also people are, people with let's say supplements and stuff, that people that are selling stuff. It's not just Amazon. There are other places where they could be getting their stuff listed
Mm-hmm.
and selling and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a big ocean out there.
That's one of those. Yeah, where's the bandwidth and where to focus, right? And that's like when we how we started this off. I love though. It's like what can you do to take care of your base, right? And so it's probably cleaning up, like you said, your email list, making sure that the things are going really well, that you've played the defense you need to play, so you can go play more offense and get a lot better things happening as you go spend more money on paid media. So because yeah, if you're not taking care of the email journey on the lead sign up or the customer journey, you're going to be you're going to have a very leaky bucket as you pour more into the top of it. So you can plug some of
Yeah,
those holes and then spend more to make more. You'll be in a very good spot versus just trying to spend more.
exactly, exactly. You got to make sure that bucket is sturdy. It doesn't need to be the biggest bucket out there, right? It needs to be the right size for you.
Yeah, it's all
Uh,
relative. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, gosh, I know it's getting late for you there out there in Israel, but I wanted to thank you for your time here. I think we covered some really cool stuff here. That email hack for people, I really hope they listen to and take care. And then remind us of your site again if people want to go find you.
Yeah, so it's Shine Media, SHYN media.com. and you can find me there. You can find me. You can probably find me everywhere. If you search hard enough, I think I'm the only Shmuel Herschberg. You know,
You have a very unique name. Yeah.
a unique
Hmm.
name. I actually have a nephew named Shmuel Herschberg. So if he's listening, I hope he doesn't give me flack for saying I'm the only one. I definitely know of one other one.
You've taken up all the domain names he'll want, and yeah. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. So yeah, so you could find me online. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me, Thomas. This has really been it's been a pleasure for me. It's always good to chat with you. Yeah, and hopefully we'll see each other again soon.
Yeah, here hopefully this year. Yeah, I know we're across the world from each other, but no, likewise, you're a great guy. Always love chatting with you. And thanks for adding value. I think it's a big thing for
Absolutely.
our audience here. So
Thank you.
something we focus on the sexy marketing stuff so much, which you obviously do, but it's that techie mess of things that marketers go, I don't know about. I just want something that works, that they don't take the time to invest in that can really
For
add up
sure.
to some significant gains and really build that up. So I hope you all that are listening head up Shmuel, and go check out his site. Go find him on the Direct Response Marketing Partners group if you're in there, and on Facebook, and chat with him because he's a wealth of knowledge, and really knows his stuff. He's been in the space has seen probably just about everything, I imagine, and knows his way around. So again, thank you so much for joining. Happy scaling, everybody. If you're wherever you're watching this, if you can give us a review, give us a like, give us a subscribe, whatever you want to do, we appreciate it. And thanks again. Happy scaling. Cheers.